Okay, at this point, I'd like to call to order the meeting of the Dubuque County Board of Supervisors, Monday, September 28th, 2020, 5:30 p.m. Meeting is being conducted via Zoom and at the Dubuque County Courthouse, 4th floor, Supervisors Chambers. Our first item is the Pledge of Allegiance. So I'm going to ask Ed Raber to get us the flag up on the screen and ask everyone to join me as we recite the Pledge of Allegiance. Give me a second just to get standing here. Thank you. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you all. And at this time, as chair, I'm going to ask for a moment of silence. We have had the flags at half-staff due to the passing of Justice Ruth Bader Ginsburg, and I'm going to ask for a moment of silence in her honor. Thank you. Okay, at this time, we will go into public comments. Anyone may address the board on matters which are on the agenda. Please go to the podium, state your name and home address. And we will have to have you notify us if you're on Zoom. Notify us either via chat or raise your hand if you would like to speak in this public comment section. Okay, I'm not seeing anything on chat. I'm going to ask Don Sherman if there's anybody raising their hand.
Chair Baker, there's no one raising their hand and no one in the boardroom for this public comment.
Okay, then we will move forward. Thank you. Okay, I guess our first item is proclamations. We do not have any today. We go to the minutes on the next agenda item, approval of minutes of the meetings of September 14th and September 21 of 2020. And they have been distributed.
I'll make a motion to approve the minutes of the meetings of September 14th and 21st.
Second.
Okay. Motion made and seconded to approve the minutes. Any discussion? All in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Carried 3-0. Thank you. All right. Next up on the agenda are the consent items. And these items will be acted on by a single motion without separate discussion, unless a supervisor requests that a specific item be considered separately. And I know we have a liquor license for Berkey's Bar and Grill and a wine permit for Bishop Vineyard and Winery.
Motion to approve.
I will second that.
Motion made and seconded to approve the consent items. Any discussion? All in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Aye, carried 3-0. Okay, item number 4 on the agenda, procurement procedures. We have, under this item, item A is proof of publication. And
Motion.
I'll make a motion to approve the proof of publication.
Second.
okay, motion made and seconded to approve the proof of publication. Any discussion? All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Carried 3-0. All right, next up, we have receipt of bids, PCC pavement, grade and new on Cox Springs Road, project LOST-2003-73-31. For this, we'll go to Anthony Bargett, our county engineer.
Okay, yeah, this would be the grading and paving of Cox Springs Road from Highway 20 down to North Cascade Road. And so this would be set up to possibly do some construction this year, although the late start date would be, I think, sometime in August next year. So most likely set up for construction next year.
Anthony, do you anticipate any pre-paving work being done this fall, or do you think the whole works will be done next season?
Depending on what we get for weather over the next, month or so, possibly we could see some regrading sections of the road. I don't think we'll get to regrading of all of it. We would allow regrading and placement of rock to be there throughout the winter time, and then paving next year. So I don't think we'll see any paving this year, but we could see some regrading.
Okay, thank you. And I'm assuming we have Dawn and Mary.
Yep.
With the
This evening we will have 3 bids. So the first bid is from Horsefield Construction. The total project cost bid is $971,953.85. Again, it's $971,953.85, and it did include the bid bond. The next one is from Midwest Concrete. The total project cost bid is $1,221,902.32. $1,221,902.32, and they also included a bid bond. Our final bid is from Chick-Fry Excavating. The total project cost bid is $1,466,975.10. $1,466,975.10, and they also included a bid bond. That is our last bid.
Okay, so we had 3 bids.
Okay. I'll make a motion to receive the bids and get those to the county engineer for his review and recommendation back to the board.
Second.
Motion made and seconded to refer to County Engineer Anthony Bargett and for his recommendation. Any further discussion? All in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Carried 3-0. All right. Next up, we go to item 5, public hearings. Item A, proof of publication for public hearing.
Make a
You can see
motion to approve the proof of publication of public hearing.
And I will second that.
Okay, motion made and seconded to approve the proof of publication. All in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Aye. Okay, we have a public hearing tonight for Dubuque County Ordinance Amendment, Chapter 1 Zoning. I would, before we open the public hearing, like to go to our zoning administrator, Tammy Henry, for initial comments and possibly Denise Dolan.
Okay, good evening, everybody. So we're going through the process, of course, of updating the zoning ordinance, and this is a process that's been going through since 2016. And so before you tonight, I know that we had a work session earlier today. Before you tonight is all of the process that the zoning board has approved and is asking for you to move forward. I don't know if you want me to read that statement again or if you feel that's necessary.
In the interest of transparency, Tammy, I'm going to assume that we don't have the same people on now than we did earlier, so I'd ask you to do a quick review again.
Okay, all right, I will. In February of 2016, the Dubuque County Zoning Commission started the process of the zoning code update. The intent was to update the definitions and to update and have the rules aligned with the comprehensive plan for Dubuque County. The Zoning Commission held over 13 public hearings between February of 2016 to January of 2018 to address the proposed changes. The Zoning Commission did have the assistance of Dan Fox and ECIA in creating the format for the document layout. The changes that you're seeing before you are all ones that have been reviewed by this current zoning board members as well as past zoning board members. They are all recommending these changes be implemented because they feel that they're in the best interest of the public and in the county. They believe that these changes will not only make finding the zoning rules more user-friendly for the public, and they also will serve the public and the county better. As you will see, we've made the document you are about to review as user-friendly as we could. And for your review, we have included a color-coded guide sheet that tells you where we have moved things or changed things in the document. So I don't know, Dawn, if you want to pull up at least maybe the first document again for us, like showing us the C1 district. So what we did, and I'm not seeing it come up yet. So one of the things that they did is they basically came in and they made a, in the very beginning of every district, they gave a description of that district. And that was the intent there, was to just, if I was just the person pulling up and wondering some rules, this would be easier for me to find something and maybe say, oh, that's not fitting it, and go on to the next district. They also tried to make it a more simplified format once it gets out there. And as you can see, wherever we put where it had red in it, that was just removed because it's later in the document. It's put in the document in a different location. So down at the bottom, we've got, you know, if agriculture doesn't require parking, we're not going to talk about it needing parking. So those things were removed. So we just tried to make it less complicated. And then if they did change a rule on that document, if you scan down in them, you'll see if something was moved to a special use permit, we place those in green. So the document's been published. It's been, again, worked on. This has been worked on since 2016. And we had it published once already for the zoning board. And now it's up for your review. For your, I guess, the supervisor's final review.
Correct. Thank you, Tammy. Yeah.
Chair Baker?
Go ahead.
Maybe Tammy can explain, is there a resolution accompanying this, or is that resolution going to be next week?
My understanding is there is no resolution. It'll be similar to when we do a zoning change. We have to do the first motion, and then you have the option of doing the second and third, or doing that at a separate meeting. Tammy or Denise can maybe explain that better than I did.
Denise, are you on? I think Denise isn't available tonight, Dave. So the answer is that what you're saying is correct. We just go through this process tonight, and then you go ahead and decide whether or not you're going to hold a second hearing or a third public hearing on it. And if you remember in the work session today, Denise just given the advice about every time we have to do that, we do that republication cost. So tonight you can approve it, and then if it's approved, Denise will put it out in the papers one more time, and then that will be the official ordinance for the C1 through R5 districts.
And Chair Baker, this is Dawn. We had previously
Thank you.
confirmed with Auditor Dolan that it would not be a resolution, and Mary, the Deputy Auditor, is also verifying that here in Chambers.
Okay, thank you. That answer your question,
Very good.
Supervisor Wickham?
Do we still need to open the public hearing?
Yes, we do.
Yes, it did. And I will make a motion to open the public hearing.
Second.
Motion made and seconded to open the public hearing. All in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Okay, if you would, the motion carried 3-0. We are in public hearing. If you would like to speak on the Dubuque County Ordinance Amendment, Chapter 1 zoning, please do so at this time. If you do, please identify yourself for the record with your name and address. And my question to Dawn Sherman, are we unmuting everyone so that they have a chance to speak if they would like to?
Chair Baker, everyone can unmute themselves. I'm unable to unmute
Okay.
people anymore, so they just need to do *6 if they would like to speak.
Okay. So you can unmute yourself if you'd like to speak on this matter in the public hearing. And if you're having problems, try to contact us by chat or raise your hand. And after an appropriate amount of time, it doesn't sound like we have anybody to speak on this. So I would go back to my counterparts regarding keeping the public hearing open.
Motion to close public hearing.
And I will second that.
There's a motion to close the public hearing. Any discussion on the motion? All in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Aye. Motion is carried 3-0. We would be looking for a motion on the Dubuque County Ordinance Amendment, Chapter 1 zoning. I'm hearing no motion.
In our work, this is Supervisor Wickham, just maybe a little context. In our work session today, I had a couple items that I would have liked to include in these new rezoning provisions, specifically related to Airbnbs, VROBs, those types of things, and they currently were not in there. And so I will not be making a motion to accept at this time.
We were also informed that the failure to pass this evening or to make any changes would result in $5,000 additional to the Dubuque County residents in payment for republication of this. I certainly approve what zoning is trying to do. Without a motion or a resolution, makes it difficult to go forward. So I'll make one up. I'll make a motion to approve the rezoning.
Okay, I believe the motion would be to approve.
I'll withdraw
The-
my motion and you can make the motion, Chair Baker.
Okay. I'll make this motion that we approve the Dubuque County Ordinance Amendment, Chapter 1 zoning as presented.
Second.
Okay, motion made and seconded. Open for discussion.
In discussion, I would like to ask the auditor who might be present to make any suggested revision to that motion if that is not going to pass their standard.
Deputy Auditor Mary Hobble said that the motion was fine.
Thank you.
We can move forward as the motion is presented.
Thank you.
Okay. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. And all opposed, nay.
Nay.
Carried 2-1. My understanding is if we don't do the second and third, we do have to republish that. Is that correct, Tammy?
That's correct.
All right. I would ask I would make the motion that the amendment be approved and we waive the second and third reading of the aforementioned amendment.
Second.
I'm going to ask Mary Hobble. I'm kind of winging it here. So I'm going to ask Mary Hobble if that was acceptable as well.
Yeah, Dave, that's fine.
Okay.
The way
Thank you.
you ordered that, that's fine, because you're waiving the second and third readings.
Right. Okay. All right. Any discussion on the motion? All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. All opposed use the sign of nay.
Nay.
It's carried 2-1. I'm going to ask for some help on this third reading. I'll ask that the amendment to Chapter 1 zoning be approved and that be entered in the county publications as required by law. And if I missed any verbiage, because I'm going off the top of my head, I would ask somebody to fill in the gaps.
Yeah, Dave, what you're doing is the same as the zoning amendments that we have at almost every meeting.
Yes.
It's the same verbiage, where you're waiving the second and third, and then you instruct the auditor to do the publication.
That's
So
correct.
you've done the waiving, so you're doing the publication.
All right, and I thought that's what I just did, so.
Yes, you did. You did
okay.
good.
I'll second
All right.
that motion.
All right, motion made and seconded. And any discussion? All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. All opposed use the sign of nay.
Nay.
Carried 2-1. The amendment to Chapter 1 zoning is approved.
Could we just double check before we move off this and ask the deputy auditor if this completes the action that the Board of Supervisors was going to take this evening? Without these in our packet, we kind of are flying blind. So is there any other action we need to take on this tonight to complete the approval of these changes?
No, Supervisor McDonough, that completes the action needed for this particular amendment. And now it will be published in all three papers again, and it takes effect once it's been published. So there's no more action that the supervisors need to take.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you. Thank you, Mary. We're moving on. Item number 6, approval of plats. So we'll go back to Tammy Henry. This is a resolution, final plat, Poles Farm subdivision, Plat 2, Section 23, Jefferson Township.
Okay.
Tammy Henry.
The property is owned by Carol Poles, and it's located 1.48 miles southwest of the city of Sherrill along Green Ridge Lane with a total of 35.103 acres surveyed. The property is zoned A1 agricultural and R1 rural residential. The purpose of this plat is to allow the crop ground to be separated from the pasture to sell the pasture to the adjoining neighbor. The survey creates 2 lots. Lot 1 is a total of 16.585 acres surveyed, and it will remain in current ownership and use. Lot 2 is a total of 18.51 acres surveyed with a farm buildings and pasture, and it will be sold to the neighbor to continue in agricultural use. Lot 1 and Lot 2 will share 16.5 wide access easement off of Green Ridge Lane. There were no additions or corrections required for this plat, and there were no additions or any other mortgages on this property. All signatures are current. This plat's been reviewed by myself as Platts officer and has all the required signatures. I respectfully recommend approval.
Okay. Any questions for Tammy Henry regarding the final plat?
I know that Mr. Schneider is on the phone, if you have any questions for him as well.
Okay, we have David Schneider on the phone. Dave, do you have any comments?
At this point, again, Dave Schneider, Schneider Land Surveying, 906 First Street North, Farley, Iowa. Assume you can hear me there?
Can hear you, Dave.
Okay, yeah, just working with Carol. She's basically running the farm by herself. Her husband passed away, and the neighbor wants to buy some additional ground to size up on the 5 acres that they had purchased from somebody else in that area. It's some pasture that Carol physically can't maintain anymore, and they're willing to maintain it. So that's, I guess, where they're at on this. And if you have any questions, I'd be happy to answer them.
Any questions for Dave Schneider?
None for me.
Okay. All right. Thank you, Dave. Thank you, Tammy.
Thank you.
Looking for a motion on the resolution.
I'll make a motion to approve the resolution for the final plat.
Second.
Motion made and seconded to approve the final plat for the Poles Farm subdivision, Plat 2, Section 23, Jefferson Township. All in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Carried 3-0. Okay, next up, we go to item 7, action items. These, the board may approve, deny, or table any action item. The first item, we have a resolution appointment of deputies, assistants, and clerks. I believe we had one, and my understanding was the circumstances have changed. So we're asking for a denial of this resolution.
That is
And
correct, Chair Baker. This is
Dawn Sherman?
Yep, this is Dawn. Unfortunately, the sheriff was notified today that the candidate has withdrawn his name from consideration, so he is no longer asking for this person to be appointed.
Make a motion to deny the resolution appointing the sheriff deputy.
I will second.
Excuse me, Ann, that would be a motion to remove it from the agenda rather than denying the hiring. What you're actually doing is taking the resolution off the agenda because the gentleman is no longer interested in the position.
So moved.
Okay, there we go.
And I will second that removal.
All right. Nice pivot there, Supervisor McDonough. All right, motion made and seconded to remove the resolution. All in favor signify by saying aye.
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 And just for official purposes, I'll rule the previous motion out of order and the second. So there's no question that is dealt with. Okay, Next up, item 7B, resolution approving the contract with Tricon General Construction of Dubuque for the courthouse first floor courtroom project. And I'm assuming Chris Soder is on for this. I don't know who else will be speaking on this.
Supervisor Baker, this is Dawn. I can speak to this resolution. So for consideration on the resolution is only for the contract with Tricon Construction, and that is in the amount of $119,900. We did want to reflect the total project cost that also includes visual equipment, and also what, so that the 171 is only county costs. There are some additional costs to the project that the states will incur with some furnishings, but for your consideration here is just the contract of $119,900, and that does include the alternate bid for the HVAC system in that room.
So the 171,000 is total cost that includes the 119,900, and that's just for informational purposes.
That is correct.
Okay, thank you. All right.
This is the first time we've seen soft costs of technology of $35,000, as far as I know. So, I mean, are there any other costs that the last time we looked at this, we weren't aware, we went out to bid and we discovered that we needed an alternate price for an HVAC issue. Tonight it's before us with a $35,000 technology and computer equipment allowance being requested. Is there anything else? The project's now up to $170,000.
The soft costs have always been included in this document, and it has included the technology cost in there.
And this is Supervisor Baker. In the interest of transparency, I think it's good that we have this information included, even though the action we're taking for the purpose of the Tricon bid is the 119,900.
Right.
Okay, any other discussion, questions? I would, in lieu of other supervisors not making a motion, I'll make a motion to approve the Tricon contract for $119,900 as bid.
I will second that.
Open for discussion. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Carried 3-0. Okay, item 7C, a resolution approving the offer to buy real estate and acceptance agreement with William J. Dean Jr. and Amy L. Dean for the FEMA acquisition. I believe we have Stella Rundy and Mark Schneider from ECIA to give the background on this.
This is Mark Schneider speaking. Can you hear me now?
We can hear you, Mark.
Okay. If Stella wasn't going to jump in there, I can give the background. The property owned by the Deans is located in a floodplain on Paradise Valley Road, and the property had been appraised, and the original application included a very limited piece of ground with it, literally surrounding the house only, which FEMA staff, Iowa Homeland Security, had come back and informed us that was not an option that could be done. The reappraisal was done, and the Deans have also then opted to survey off a smaller 1.3 acre parcel from the larger parcel. And so there was a deduction to the price that got us from 221,000, I believe, down to the $211,000 figure, with that difference being the 1.3 acres from it. FEMA provides 75% of the funding. The county is at 15%, and the deans will pick up the county match on the amount above the original $115,000 project. 15% of that the county had committed to. The state of Iowa picks up the other 10%.
Okay, thank you. I had for Stella, Rundy, Stella, the county had approved a specific amount for this project, and that has not changed, even though the scope of the project has changed. Is that correct?
That's correct. The county did $22,275, and even with the increase in the project, we are still in at that amount. So the deans are picking up the remainder of the local match with the increase in the project.
Okay.
Stella, a question from Ann. The fees that ECIA has been charging, are those reimbursed by FEMA?
They are.
Okay, any other questions?
I'll make a motion to approve the resolution.
Okay, there's a motion to approve the resolution. Is there a second? I will second it. Open for discussion. All in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. All opposed use the sign of nay.
Nay.
I didn't hear Supervisor Wickham, so I don't know if he was muted.
I was an aye.
Okay, thank you. All right, it's carried 2-1. Thank you. All right, moving on. We have the item 7D, resolution approving the collective bargaining agreement with Teamsters Local 120, representing the courthouse employees. And that was included in the packet.
This is Dawn Sherman. This is the one-year agreement with our courthouse employees that does include a 2% general wage increase. It will go back retro to July 1st, and I recommend approval of this resolution.
Dawn, do you remember why we tabled it?
On the resolution, it had, in the second paragraph, it had a 3-year agreement, and this is just a 1-year agreement. So we have updated and corrected that resolution to reflect the 1-year agreement.
Do you know what page the resolution is?
Page 62 of your packet.
It is up on the screen as well.
Make a motion to approve.
Okay, there's a motion to approve. Is there a second? I will second it. We're open for discussion. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. All opposed use the sign of nay.
Nay.
Carried 2-1. Okay, item E, 7E. We have a resolution approving the lease agreement with Greg and Roxanne Willie for winter equipment parking. For this, we would go to Anthony Bargett, our county engineer.
Okay, thanks. So I don't know how many years, it's been several years now that we've had this same agreement, but the maintainer operator that works the Holy Cross area, during the wintertime, he really doesn't have a place. We just have a property right there south of Highway 3 or 52 there. that has a salt shed on it and just kind of a little outdoor parking area. During the wintertime, that's not very conducive for him parking his machine and keeping it out of the elements. So we've had this agreement in place for several years with the Willies to rent their building from November 1st through May 1st. And it gives him a place to just kind of get out of the elements and have his machine warm for the next day.
I'll make a motion to approve the lease agreement.
And I will second that.
There's a motion made and seconded to approve the resolution and thereby approving the lease agreement. Any discussion? All in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Carried 3-0. All right, item 7F. Resolution to approve necessary documents with Widmeyer Lawn Care for the replacement of the retaining wall along Balltown Road in the amount of $38,700.
Okay, this is Anthony again. So there in Balltown, there's a retaining wall that was a part of the Balltown reconstruction project from maybe 20 years ago or so, when the road was paved and placed with concrete. That wall, that particular retaining wall, is failing right now, and it's just about on the verge of collapse. So we've taken some quotes from different vendors, different contractors to try to repair this. I've also estimated against actually building a concrete wall in its place, and that's quite a bit more expensive, on the order of around $75,000. So Widmeyer Lawn Care submitted the low quote for $38,700 to come in and remove the wall, regrade the lawn back a little bit lower, so the wall doesn't have to be so tall. And we have talked to the landowner about this, and he's in agreement with that. And also to properly reconstruct the wall with its tiebacks and clean rock behind it. No, that's about it. Any questions on it?
No, Anthony, was there some involvement of our conservation board or department in this as well?
Well, I think at one point there was some confusion as to whose responsibility it was with this wall. And this would be kind of south of that overlook area, which is more the responsibility of the conservation. This particular area is
the one in town, right?
Yes, it's in town. This would be a part of the road project that Second Roads did years ago. So it's pretty much the roads department's responsibility.
Okay, that answered my question. Thank you. All right. Any other questions for
I'll
Anthony?
make a motion to approve the resolution.
Second.
Motion made and seconded to approve the resolution. And Anthony, under questions, this was competitively bid, was it not?
Yes, we tried to find as many contractors that do this type of work, and we actually had 4 different quotes. One dropped out, and we had the remaining 3 here. So we tried to access as many contractors that do this type of work.
Okay, thank you. Any other discussion? All in favor of the approving the resolution signify by saying aye.
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 Aye, carried 3-0. All right, next up, item 7G. A resolution approving a grant application for funds through the Iowa Clean Air Attainment Program to fund John Deere improvements. And again, we'll go to Anthony Bargett for an explanation.
Okay, you might remember a couple meetings or a meeting or 2 ago that we submitted an application for the TSIP funding. In addition, there's also this grant application for ICAP, which is the Iowa Clean Air Attainment Program. And what it refers to is if you can prove or show that you're reducing traffic congestion with your project, and go through these series of calculations, you can try to seek funding from this program. So we're submitting an application for $500,000 to put towards this grant or towards this project, and submitting this application. It's due, I believe, October 3rd, I believe. So we need to get it in pretty fast here. But I think it's going to score pretty competitively, being that we have such a large matching cost our grant project with the bill grant.
Any questions for Anthony?
I'll make a motion to approve the resolution.
And I will second that.
Motion made and seconded to approve the resolution. Any further discussion? All in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Aye. Carried 3-0. All right, item 7H is a resolution approve reimbursement to the University of Dubuque for testing. And not sure who's taking the lead on this. Ed Raber, perhaps? Give us some background.
I can do that. Thank you. I'm just paging forward here, so I apologize. It's taking me just a minute to get to page 154. There is a letter in the packet following the resolution on page 154 from the president of the University of Dubuque, Jeff Bullock, that outlines a pattern, a series of events. In August, the University of Dubuque sought to participate in the state's Test Iowa sites for education. And I think to summarize Mr. President Bullock's comments, that got off to a rocky start with not getting the information that they had hoped for, including the ways to access the state's system. They moved ahead with doing some of that testing. I think some of that may have been with some test kits that were not part of the Test Iowa program, but some other sourced test kits that the University of Dubuque had been provided that they sought and got on their own from another partner. They felt like they wanted to have another entity do that testing for them at the beginning of the school year, and they moved ahead and contracted with another vendor to do that. It happened to be Epic Health and Wellness, which operates the Test Iowa Clinic site here, as well as their own private practice. That occurred over a number of days in the middle of August, and then they ended, to a certain extent, what they're asking for was just for a period of time that ended August 26th. I don't know if they had continued testing since then, but their request was that they had hoped that the state would have provided that staffing resource reimbursements, which ultimately they did not, and they are seeking that reimbursement from the county. Last week at their regular meeting, the Dubuque County Board of Health addressed this issue, and they approved a recommendation to the Board of Supervisors to approve this request. They were, as part of their discussion, they were concerned that if they would get other requests, but to the best of their knowledge, there are no other requests out there of entities, of any of the higher education institutions that have already completed some testing and potentially would be seeking reimbursement from the county. So the Board of Health recommended approval to the Board of Supervisors.
And I have a question. We have appropriated money for testing. Would this money come out of the money that we appropriated for the Board of Health?
I believe that that is the Board of Health's understanding, as well as my other checks. The county attorney had advised the Board of Health that on this particular issue, that his recommendation was that in addition to whatever action that the Board of Health would do, that it should be concurred by the Board of Supervisors, which is why it's here this evening. But the Board of Health is the entity with the budgetary line item for an activity such as this. And I think that that would be where that, if this would be approved tonight, that's where that resource would come from.
Okay, thank you. Questions for Ed Raber? And I would like to I see we have Tom Beshin. I don't know if there's any other Board of Health members. I assume that there are as I look through here. But
Teresa's done here.
Okay. If they would like to comment, I'd like them to be able to unmute themselves and speak if they would like to.
I'd like to hear from Patrice if she has a recommendation.
This is Patrice, and right now I guess my recommendation is that the Board of Health did approve it. So I would not go against what the Board of Health has already approved. I believe some of the discussion that we did have during the meeting, and Tom Beshin, Chair Beshin can also speak up to this as well, was that just a concern if one is approved, such as the University of Dubuque, will there be others that will follow? Will there be other colleges? Will there be other churches? Will there be, other agencies or whatever the case may be? But again, the Board of Health did approve it, so I would support their decision.
Patrice,
So Chair Beshin, what? I'm sorry.
Patrice, did you know, did the University of Dubuque ask you to do this testing? Were we consulted about the testing need that they had?
I believe the testing occurred in August, and to my knowledge, they did not approach us when the testing was going to occur that they would want to be reimbursed. But again, that correspondence with the University of Dubuque did go to Chair Beshin.
Did you ever offer to reimburse them for costs?
No, when the incident management team, had met, and we still do, we continue to meet regularly with the higher education. We, even from the very beginning with the Iowa Department of Public Health presentations, it was always stated that IDPH is not recommending mass testing. So we did follow their guidelines as well, but no. But again, whoops, I'm sorry.
No.
Again, no. Well, I'm sorry, I did it again. Do you want me to speak? I was going to
Patrice, it looks like Chair Beshin is trying to speak, but why don't you finish?
I'll let Chair Beshin speak.
Okay, all right. Tom Beshin, why don't you go ahead?
Okay, the only comment I have on this issue is, as you can see, President Bullock's letter is dated the 10th of September, which was quite a bit after the fact. The concern that was expressed at the Board of Health meeting last Wednesday evening was that is this the end of these requests, or are we to expect more? We were told by Kelly McMahon from Epic that she is now being reimbursed by the state. And based on that, our belief is that we will not see other requests of this nature. And that was a part of the discussion when the recommendation was made to approve this expense.
Chair Beshen, I know you voted against this. I believe it was because you felt it was going to set a bad precedent. Did you want to, I would be curious to know what your reason was to vote no on the UD request.
Setting a precedent was one of the reasons, Supervisor McDonough. The other reason was that there was no clear direction from the state that mass testing was required. Surveillance testing was the recommendation. This represented mass testing. That was my reason for voting no.
Thank you, Tom. All right, do we have other questions? And Patrice, did you have anything else to add?
Yes, I was just also going to say that, you know, anytime testing is done, it gives us a better picture of the activity, you know, in the county itself. But that's all I was going to say. But again, you know, the Board of Health did support this. So I would back the Board of Health with their decision.
Okay, thank you.
Might,
other questions?
Sure, Patrice, might other companies, organizations, schools also come to us to seek reimbursement for testing? There's been a tremendous amount of testing being done by education and you know, public education, private employers. You know, you clearly now have money available to spend on that. Do you have a concern about other people coming forward?
I do not right now because of the additional Test Iowa site in Dubuque, and that Hardig's and Union Pharmacy and the Test Iowa at Epic Health. It appears that they still have the green light for our testing through the month of October and possibly even longer. So, and plus our private healthcare providers as well. So I truly do believe with our availability that we have for the free testing, you know, whenever anyone asks us about the testing, that is the first avenue that we direct them to are the free testing, which are the Test Iowa, which now we have the second site, as well as the Union Pharmacy and the Hardig sites.
Exactly, but this question is about people who might ask you to reimburse them for testing that they did before all these other sites without our knowledge, just like UD, without our knowledge, without our approval, but now they would turn in bills for reimbursement.
Well, I don't know how to answer that because anything, you know, these days are a possibility. And I guess if that were to occur, we would just, again, have to look at it with a critical eye. And that, again, would go in front of the Board of Health for their discussion as well.
Okay, any other questions? I'm going to ask Ed Raber a question. Ed, if you're comfortable answering this, wasn't there some confusion from the state level regarding the University of Dubuque's testing?
Yes, I've had an opportunity to talk with the individuals from the area colleges in partnership with the incident management team, the people that participate in the incident management team's weekly calls. So these are not the presidents, but staff that are doing the work. And it would appear that a number of institutions had a variety of confusions in August regarding how the state was planning to proceed. So there was a fair amount of confusion about what the state was doing and what it was not going to do at the time.
Okay, thank you. Any other questions or comments?
I'll jump in if I can, Supervisor Wickham. So, when I look at the testing results, the positivity rates for the various age groups over the last 30 days, what just jumps out at you is the age group of college-age people is by far the largest group of those positives. And as we know, many of those are asymptomatic. And in order to prevent or discourage the spread of COVID-19 throughout the community, we need more preventative measures like masks. We also need more testing. Typically, the youth aren't the ones significantly impacted, but the community spread will go right to our nursing homes and our other elderly populations. 50% of the deaths in Iowa, over 50%, and we've got close to that in Dubuque County, are in our nursing homes and assisted living. And we need to do everything we can to limit the spread. And so I'm very pleased that the Board of Health recommended this, and I fully support this.
I just don't understand how reimbursing anyone for testing that they have done to date prior to our notice, prior to our engagement, and then doing testing and then turning it into the county to be reimbursed. That is bad fiscal policy. That is a bad precedent to set, which we, all three of us, were listening to the Board of Health's meeting, and that was made mention by several of the members. They scrambled for information. They talked about precedent. This is a bad decision to reimburse for things that you're not involved in and you're not consulted about.
Well, I will respectfully disagree with Supervisor McDonough. I do think we approved the budget for the Board of Health, and they have approved this in an overwhelming vote, and I plan on supporting it. So, are there any other questions or comments? All in favor? Excuse me. I don't know if we had a motion to begin with yet. So, is there a motion?
I will make that motion to. I will make the motion to approve the resolution as presented.
Okay, there's a motion to approve the resolution as presented. Is there a second? I will second it. Motion made and seconded, and we're back open for discussion. Hearing none. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. And opposed, use the sign of nay.
Nay.
Carried 2-1. All right, we're on to item 8, communications. Correspondence that the board will receive and file without taking action. We have manure management plan, AAA Port Site 2, number 70693. And then a motion to receive
and file.
Second.
Motion made and seconded to receive and file. All in favor signify by saying aye.
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 It is received and filed. Okay, item 9, appointments, Investment Policy Committee. We do have, I believe, one application. Joyce Jardine for the Investment Policy Committee. Is there any, do we have, I know this is our treasurer, Eric Stearman. I don't know if he's on or not. Don Sherman, do you have any comments on this?
Chair, this
I'll make a
is,
motion to approve
Dawn.
the nomination of Joyce Jarding.
Okay. There was a motion to approve the application. I will second it to get us into discussion. Don Sherman, you had any input on this?
I do believe that Ed Raber had put together a memo giving the details of the expiration. This has been vacant for some time, so you can appoint either gender to this for this vacancy.
Okay, thank you for that.
Does the committee meet?
I can't answer that without Treasurer Stearman being on board here, so.
And do we know where this is? Did someone ask her, or is this just the next person to apply? Are we building our boards and commissions and committees, or are we taking whoever turns in something in? I happen to know this woman and think she's fine. She served for many years with Farley City Council. But I'm just wondering where we
Agreed.
are with the whole process.
Supervisor McDonough, this is Dawn. Currently, anytime we receive an application in which there's a vacancy on that respective board or commission, they are put on the next board meeting for your consideration. Ed Raber and I are tossing around some ideas that we'll be presenting to you probably in the coming weeks about some maybe recommendations of a better practice of how these are filled.
Do we know how often it meets? Does it meet?
I'm sorry, I could not hear that.
I don't even know if does this investment policy committee even meet? Do they do
I'm unsure of the
anything?
frequency of that.
Okay, any other discussion?
My preference would be to take up this matter when Treasurer Stearman is here to inform us. That would be my preference.
Okay. Well, we do have an active motion to approve the application with a second. And so we'd have to, in order to do that, we would have to vote this down. So,
I'll withdraw my motion. If Supervisor McDonough is not comfortable, I'll withdraw my motion and we'll start over. And happy to have Eric Stearman come here and make sure Supervisor McDonough is comfortable.
I will withdraw my second. New motion would be in order then.
Motion to table.
I'll second that.
Motion made and seconded to table. All in favor signify by saying aye.
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 It is tabled 3-0. 9B open vacancies. I think we're working on that.
If you
So now we go to our item 10, personnel requisitions. 2 permanent full-time deputy sheriff positions. We'll
Yes,
go to
this is Dawn Sherman. You have, the sheriff was notified last week that he has 2 retirements. And so these are filling, as they do the promotions from within, it will leave open 2 deputy sheriff's positions that are for your consideration. So I recommend approval.
Okay,
Motion to approve the personnel requisition for the deputy sheriff position.
and I will second that.
okay. Motion made and seconded to approve the personnel requisition in 10A. All in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Carried 3-0. 10B, permanent part-time life enrichment coordinator. This would be at Sunnycrest Manor. We'll go to Dawn Sherman for an explanation.
Yeah. We had a resignation without notice, and so she's just looking to fill this permanent part-time position. So it is filling a current vacancy, so I recommend approval.
I'll make a motion to approve. This is Supervisor Baker.
Second.
Any discussion? Motion has been made and seconded. All in favor signify by saying aye. Aye.
Aye.
Aye.
Carried 3-0. Item 11, tabled and pending items. Don't believe we have any at this time. 12, public comments. At this time, anyone may address the board on matters which are of concern to that person, which are not agenda items. Please go to the podium, state your name and home address. Please be aware the board is limited in their ability to respond to such inquiries, and Iowa Code prohibits the board from deliberating or acting on items not appearing on the agenda. My understanding is we do have someone that would like to speak on a matter that is not on the agenda. So, Don Sherman, if you can arrange for that.
Yes, my name is Carl Burkle, 14299 Christoph Road, Dyersville, Iowa. I am here representing the residents that live on Christoph Road, plus the 217 cars that drive it every day. The location of the road, if you're not familiar with Christoph Road, it exits Dyersville in the center of Dyersville to the north, and it goes 1.5 miles to I forget the name of the road, that Jasper Road, I think it is, and or Floyd Road, and that's how far it goes to the north. Do you have the pictures that I brought to you, and are you just looking at them?
There was a picture up for a second. It looked like a
I
road.
had about maybe
Right.
there was probably 8 to 10 pictures that I submitted, and I'm hoping you receive them because the pictures kind of speak for themselves as far as the need for something to be done with this road. It's very unsafe. Are you receiving the pictures or not?
We see a picture with a Jeep, and it looks like a road with, it looks like it might be a gravel road with a lot of potholes.
You're looking at the right one, but I submitted
Okay.
like 7 or 8 of them, so, and they're all about the same. I had a drone fly over and take pictures of the whole road. So hopefully you're looking at that. It's the way that the potholes and stuff in that road is so unsafe. If watching cars drive down the road and all of a sudden they're bouncing sideways and something or someone's going to get hurt with all this, the way the condition of this road is. Our maintainer operator, he does an excellent job. It's Neil Gatto. I can't complain about his work. Thank God we have him because he's probably the best in the county. He does an excellent job with the road, but he's there probably every week trying to keep it in safe conditions. As I stop and talk to Neil, he says, there's way too much traffic on this road. Something needs to be done. He hauls gravel on it all the time. He said the amount of gravel he puts on this road, he said, would go a long ways in helping to do something else with it. As I drive through the county, a lot of times you run across a new blacktop road out in the middle of nowhere, and it goes from who knows where to who knows where, and then the traffic count on it is probably very low. And then I call Anthony in regards to this, and he said, well, it was an old asphalt road that we had to do something with because of the safety reasons, and I can understand that. But if you look at the pictures of this road, you understand where safety comes into play here. This is very unsafe. So I'm here representing a lot of people out there in the area. They keep calling me on the phone or sending me texts. Carl, why don't you pay your taxes so somebody does something with your road? And I'll tell you, we do pay taxes, and everybody else does too. I'm not saying that. But this road, because of the traffic count, it's very important that you and Anthony look into please doing something with this road. So that's about all I have to say. I could go on, but I think it's getting late for you guys. So Anthony and yous, would you please get together and investigate this problem out here? Thank you. Thank you for listening to me.
Okay, thank you, Carl. We obviously cannot have much dialogue on this, but thank you for bringing this to our attention. All right, anybody else to speak in public comments? You can do so by raising your hand or notifying us via chat. I'm not seeing any, so at this time, I would ask for a motion to recess this meeting, and then we can decide if we need a quick break or if we're going to go right into the 6:30 p.m. work session on our COVID-related issues. So is there a motion to recess the regular meeting?
I'll make a motion to recess till 6:50.
Second.
Okay, motion to recess till 6:50. All in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Carried 3-0. We're in recess till 6:50 p.m. Thank you. Okay, this is Chair Baker. We were at 6:50 p.m. and we're going to start our 6:30 p.m. work session to discuss COVID-related issues. And we'll go to Patrice Lambert for her report.
Sure. Can you hear me okay?
I can hear you just fine. Thank you.
Okay.
Chair Baker.
Samantha's on. Oh, I'm sorry.
Chair Baker.
Yes, go ahead. Somebody have a question?
Sure all are in attendance.
Okay. Let's make sure we have Supervisor McDonough.
Hello.
Okay, and Supervisor Wickham.
I'm here. Thank you. Appreciate
And
that consideration.
Sorry about that. I jumped the gun a little bit there. Supervisor Baker is present as well. So we have all three, and my apologies. All right, let's go to, with that, we'll go to Patrice Lambert for her report.
Sure. And Samantha Kloft, our new assistant in the health office, is also on. And we actually did prepare a PowerPoint for you this evening. Dawn, can you assist Samantha to get that on the screen? There you got it. Okay, good enough. So this is a first for us. So here we go. Supervisor McDonough had asked us if we would just basically run through the Iowa dashboard. And what we try to do when we give our updates for Dubuque County, we will just go through that dashboard. In case people haven't been there for a while, just to familiarize yourself with the dashboard. I also just want to mention that last Wednesday and Friday, we did have an in-service on our new DOMO program. Now, the DOMO program is not a public program, but it basically will look the very same as the COVID-19 Iowa dashboard, but it will allow us to do a few more features, which includes the zip code with the case numbers, which we do have this as part of our presentation as well. So please know this is our first attempt, and what the incident management team will be doing is analyzing the data in more thorough manner to look at what we can share that would be valid for the residents of Dubuque County. But we were able to work on the zip codes over the weekend and today. So we will be presenting that. But first, we'll just start with the COVID-19 Iowa dashboard. When you do open it up, and Sam, are you able to open up our COVID dashboard as well?
Yes, 1 second. Sorry, I just need
Okay, no, you're fine.
Preview mode. Oh no. Okay.
Okay, so if you go to COVID-19, actually it says, okay, on the COVID Iowa Department of Public Health website, you will see this blue box that says go to the coronavirus.iowa.gov. So just click on that, and then this will actually bring you up to the dashboard. And on the face cover of the dashboard, you will see the Test Iowa sites and schedules, which you will be seeing. I don't know if it's listed there yet or not, but our new site, I think it's the next box down, Sam, with the Test Iowa clinics. With our new site, yes, they're both listed, Epic Health and Wellness, as well as the Grand River Medical Group. So then if you see that red box right underneath that, this will probably be a short-lived red box, because over the weekend, what Iowa Department of Public Health did was to take all of the long-term care antigen test results, which added up to nearly 27,000 from their current surveillance testing, and did place all of those testing results into each county that it belonged in. So you'll see that in just a little bit as well. So that red box is pretty much up to the current, I know Dubuque County has been added. So until they get all of the counties added, then we will no longer see that red box. But then if you go down, you'll see the summary statistics, such as the positive case analysis, long-term care, the RMCC dashboard, Iowa test assessments, the percentage of the positive analysis for the public school, and then whichever area that you are looking at for information, then you just click on the view. So if we wanted to look at the positive case analysis in the state of Iowa, Sam just clicked on view. This will bring up the data for the entire state of Iowa, which it is loading, as you can see. So this is the whole entire state of Iowa with the lab results received yesterday, the PCR test, the antigen test, and then the total. And then it also will have how many Iowans were tested, how many tested negative, tested positive, and then that 14-day percent. So then if you go to the state of Iowa, if you click on Dubuque County, all of this data above and to the side of us is going to change specifically for Dubuque County. So if you scroll up, this is all Dubuque County information now. So the lab results received yesterday, the individuals reported were 228. Out of those 228, we had 210 that were negative, and the individuals that tested positive were 18. So depending on the time that those tests went in, all of these numbers will change. So we tell everyone to check this site as many times as you want to, because as soon as they get the data, then they do plug it in. So then you can see all of the PCR results, the antigen results, and then can you scroll down a little bit more, Sam? All of our totals in Dubuque County so far, we've had 29,901 individuals tested. We've had 26,522 that tested negative. We've had 3,316 that have tested positive, and the percent for the individual positivity is 11.1. And then if you continue down, again, this is all Dubuque County data. How many individuals were had symptoms and others who did not have any symptoms. Then you'll see our positive cases by age group. The 18 to 40-year-old, as you can see, 48% of our Dubuque County positive cases fall in that age range. And then you can see it all by male and female, by race. Let's see, I can never pronounce it, the ethnic component. And then you'll see the total positive cases by pre-existing conditions. So all of this information is specifically for Dubuque County. Now what we're hoping to be able to do, for example, can you scroll up to the age component again, Sam? Where we have the positive cases by age group. We're hoping that on the Domo, with these areas, that we'll be able to even fine-tune more of these components. So as I said, our last in-service was Friday afternoon, so we will be focusing on this new Domo site to be able to be more transparent in providing Dubuque County information. So then, Sam, do you want to go back to the PowerPoint? So that was just a quick overview of the dashboard itself. So you can go to the next slide, Sam. And this is basically all of the categories that we just covered, the positive cases by county that tested negative, positive, and then our percent for the 14-day average. And then the next slide, Sam. Or is that the last one on our dashboard? Probably our last. Okay, so Sam, can you go back then to our Iowa dashboard? Okay, and then if you can go back a whole page to the, we'll click on the, okay, if you can go back to the main page. Okay, and then go down, scroll down. Okay, and again, well, nope, you can go right back up a little bit. I'm sorry. So then, for example, if you wanted to see our long-term care, if you click on that, and I guess that would have been on our Dubuque page, I apologize. And then there's a map again. So if you want to click on Dubuque, okay, it shows that we have 2 facilities. And then if you want to scroll down just a little bit more, Sam, then you will see, okay, Dubuque cases. We do have Sunnycrest and we do have Mercy One Dyersville Senior Care. So again, we just encourage people to get on this dashboard as many times as you wish or as frequently as you wish. And again, all of the information does become specific for Dubuque County once you go to that map and just click on Dubuque County. So do you want to go back to the PowerPoint, Sam? Okay. So then as we had mentioned, our antigen tests were uploaded over the weekend. I don't actually know if it was yesterday afternoon or last evening when they finished, but these are the results from the long-term care testing. So as you'll see for Dubuque County, we actually, out of that 27,000 antigen test results, in Dubuque County, we had 347 individuals tested. Out of that number, we had 335 that were negative. The individuals that were positive were 12, and that was a percentage, a positivity percentage of 3.5. But now, when the long-term care facilities submit their antigen tests to Iowa Department of Public Health, they will actually upload those tests as soon as they get them. But it was only a backlog due to being a new program that the Iowa Department of Public Health did put in those antigen tests. So then, do you want to do the next slide presentation, or the next slide? What we were able to do, the incident management team, along with people such as Sam, who really helped us through all of this, we did, if you want to go to the next slide, Sam, we were given directive from Iowa Department of Public Health when they said that we could release our zip code data for each of our individual counties. They did have us check with our county attorney, which we did with CJ May. CJ May looked over the information and made the recommendation to the Board of Health to approve allowing us to be able to share the zip code data for Dubuque County following the Iowa Department of Public Health guidelines. So with our guidelines, we had to make sure all of our zip codes in Dubuque County had at least 100 or more people before we could even put any cases into that zip code. We had to look at, we could place 0 if there were some towns or some zip codes that didn't have any positive cases whatsoever, that we could place a 0. However, if that zip code or if that town had 100 people and they had 6 or more positive cases, we could release that. If they had anywhere from 1 to 5 cases, we could only identify those areas as having 1 to 5 cases. And we could not share any other demographic identifiers because of confidentiality reasons. So then what the incident management team, along with Sam, did was we then looked at all of our zip codes, made sure that they were all of at least 100% or more, and that their positive cases were at least above 5. So what we did was put together this chart, and this is from day 1, from getting our first Dubuque County positive rate or a positive case. And then we actually did do this as a draft on Friday afternoon after our DOMO presentation. So this was up until Friday. So you will see that we have listed each of the towns with their zip code. You'll also see that some of the zip codes are shared by 2, or I see one that has 3 areas out in the county. So we're just saying whoever gets their mail, whatever zip code they use, it is included in this chart. So for example, we'll just use Cascade. If your mailing address zip code is 52033, then you can see Cascade has, the Iowa Department of Public Health has informed us that there are 98 positive cases. If you look at Dyersville, if your mailing zip code was 52040, then you now have 208 positive cases. So what we are hoping to do is the incident management team, since this was our first project off of DOMO that we have been able to put together for everyone, we will continue to look at what we can produce off of this DOMO. And then we'll also look at the zip code count. How often does that change? So you may see that we will release this information possibly on a weekly basis, or every other week, or whatever, if we were to see a sharp increase in over a couple of days, we then might update this chart and release it as we see any significance to that. We will also utilize our incident management team update that Randy Gale puts out on a daily basis to share some of this information. We will also utilize our Facebook and our websites, and we will also send significant information to our city clerks to share with the mayors. And of course, we'll always share with the Board of Health first of all, and then the Board of Supervisors, any significant changes that we would be publicly putting out. So that's our major accomplishment that we have been able to put together for tonight's presentation. So any questions with that?
Patrice, this is Supervisor Wickham. Thank you for putting this data together. It's been very helpful. The zip codes that are there, do you also have the population of those zip codes? And is it the true population, or is it a hybrid or a superset?
We actually had Tom Berger do the checking for our population, or for the population of those towns. We just needed to know if it was over 100 people with that zip code.
Okay. Okay. So potentially you could take the population of Farley at 52046, divide that by 110, and you'd know the infection rate.
Correct. If anyone, I don't know how far out Farley bound. I don't personally know how far
and that's
out
probably my
Farley
zip code. Yeah.
Correct. Yeah.
So it's a zip code. It's not necessarily the boundary, the property boundary, and so that population range may be a little squishy. So okay, thank you. That answers my question. Appreciate it.
Sure. And then Sam, I see you did have one more slide. I'm sorry, I ended too quickly. And then we did also look at the positivity, or the positive case trend from March to September. And as you'll see, there has been quite a climb in positive cases for the month of September. And Sam, is that all of these before I, okay, also, thank you very much, Sam. Our sources and links. We did add some links, and we will get these out on our Facebook pages as well. Just some basic information. Supervisor McDonough, you had asked us about the positivity rate of what we would look at to see what some safe ranges were as far as our state guidelines. And what we were able to find out is that the WHO, the World Health Organization, actually their safe positivity rate, I'm trying to pull this up, I'm sorry, is, I left
Yes,
my...
I have it up on the slide, sorry.
Oh, sure. Do you? Okay.
Yep,
Thank
right
you
there
very
at the
much.
bottom.
Thank you very much. Oh, there it is. Okay. With the World Health Organization, they're actually advising governments that before reopening, the positive rate should remain at 5% or less for at least 14 days. The CDC recommends this number to be at 10% or less before entering the third and final phase of their reopening plan. And then the state of Iowa, as we all know, has set that percent at 15%. And then if we're looking at the school component, that school district also needs to be presenting a 10% absentee rate or higher. Now, if our positivity rate for 14-day average is 20%, then the schools are able to request virtual education without that additional 10% school absenteeism rate. So the links that Samantha did have on, those are the links that we did cover as we were looking through also all of this information. So Samantha, do we have any other slides, or was that the last one?
The last one.
Okay, thank you very much.
Therese, this is Ann. Can I ask you a question? If you can go to the slide about the positivity rate.
The what?
Slide about the positivity rate.
Uh-huh.
So there's antigen. You had 347 people tested for antigens. Are they included in the positive case count, or in the, in the individuals tested? Do you know if the antigen numbers are being included when they determine the positive rates?
Yes, and it was my understanding that when all of the antigen tests were imported into that county, that would also then affect all of the other percentages for that county. So yes, it's my understanding that that percentage would also be included in the overall county percentage.
None of this is really calculable by anybody because we don't know the dates of their, when they put the tests in. Like the antigen tests, we don't know when those are being accepted by IDPH. We don't know when they're all the ones that are pending. We don't, there's so many unknowns. The positivity rate is really not the factor for me. It's about whether or not our counts are going up or down. What's the trend line?
Mm-hmm. So that's pretty much what we had to share for tonight. And what we're hoping to do is to, even with the Board of Health meetings, be able to just show a new outlook on what our counts are for Dubuque County. Because we know that we need to learn this process as well. And we would just like to be able to continue with our learning, to be able to share it with the residents of Dubuque County. So this is our very first attempt.
It's great to see the zip code information. Everyone will be interested to see that.
Okay, Thank you, Patrice and
You're
Sam.
welcome.
Any other questions for Patrice? This is information we've been asking for quite some time, so thank you.
Sure.
Okay. Do we have a report from Stacy Killian?
I do believe we do. Is Stacy on?
I am. Good evening, everybody. Can you hear me okay?
Can hear you just fine,
Yeah.
Stacy.
Perfect. Thank you. Thank you to Patrice and Sam. That was an awful lot of information they gathered and presented very well. As you know, looking at the positive case counts over the last week or so that have continued to rise, we've been very busy at the VNA. So I'll just give you some of our numbers. As Patrice mentioned in her slides, we have 2 long-term care facilities that are currently in outbreak status, both Sunny Crest and Mercy One in Dyersville. VNA is continuing to provide daily updates with them, meeting with typically the director of nursing or an administrator to go over the testing, signs and symptoms, discharges, and just providing some public health support. VNA is continuing to do some targeted scheduling of individuals that have been close contacts of positive cases. And so far, we've scheduled 245 individuals, and that continues to grow. We're still working very closely with the isolation shelter. We've had a lot of move-ins recently, and we've been utilizing those apartments quite a bit lately. And so VNA is still doing the building checks, the cleaning, the laundry of the residents. We're providing assistance to Beth with the admits and then also the release and discharge of the patients, and doing daily follow-up calls to check their signs and symptoms, make sure they're doing okay while they're there. We're still working with the community and providing thermometers. This week in particular, we've actually had quite an uptake of individuals requesting thermometers. And so we've given out to date almost 1,100. And we're still working with the schools. Right now, I'm meeting with 4 different schools every single day, providing just some dialogue back and forth with the positive cases, the close contacts, isolation and quarantine guidance. We've had over 530 calls and contacts with families related to school, and that's almost doubled in the last week and a half. So it's been quite busy in that realm too. We've had a lot of families with good questions, and just supplying that guidance, answering the questions for the schools, both pre-K through 12 and then also the higher education as well. And we've noticed a large increase in calls from the community. We've had almost 1,000 calls in the last week. Most of it is surrounding just really good questions from residents regarding isolation and quarantine guidance, questions regarding schools. We've had some complaints, things of those nature, but all in all, the questions have been really good. They've been a wide variety, but we're noticing a huge intake in those calls. So I think, that's a good sign. It's a lot of good, it's a lot of good, I can't think of the word I want to use, but we've seen a lot of interest in the community in regards to COVID, and I'm glad to see that. And so wanting that guidance just for those who might be quarantined and or have a positive case. So all in all, we've stayed pretty busy this last week and a half, and we'll continue to follow up on all the positive cases in the community as well, and follow that guidance and then offer that public health support too.
Stacy,
And this is Patrice. Oh, I'm sorry.
I have a couple questions, Stacy, for you.
Sure.
Where would a person in a 52001 downtown Dubuque, location 20th Street area, where would they get a face mask?
Well, we do have face masks that we do offer to anyone that needs it. So if we were to get that call, we would give it to them. I do know the schools have them. I know some of the pharmacies keep them on hand. I noticed today that some of the grocery stores have them, but they're slowly running out. We try to keep a large stock in our building for anyone that comes in or anyone that calls in.
Right. And do you know if the schools provided face masks to the students who were virtual only?
I am not sure if they did or not, but I can definitely find out. I know each student doing hybrid was given 2 masks, but I'm not sure about the virtual.
Right. I'm concerned because in that area, I am getting reports of people not having access to face masks, and they don't know where to go to get them. So there's been some distribution begun just, with food giveaways. That's something that we're going to be working on, I think, more, but I think we might have a barrier there, an unmet need.
Okay. And that's something we would definitely try and help with as best we can to see where we can figure out how to get those out to the general community.
Okay. Do we have other questions for Stacy?
Oh, this is Patrice, and all I wanted to do is add that we are so thankful for Stacy and the staff at the VNA, as well as the other incident management team members, Tom Berger and Mary Rose Corrigan. We work very, very well together, but Stacy and her staff have been phenomenal. So thank you, Stacy.
Thank you.
Okay, any other questions for Patrice or Stacy? All right, thank you. We will move on then. The next item on the agenda would be our Sunny Crest Administrator Update.
Good evening, everybody.
Hi, Chris.
How are you
Good
tonight?
evening.
So this is my last chat with you all. Sad. So I thought I'd show my face to you just so you won't forget me. So the state of Iowa didn't want to forget me either, so they came to visit us today. So, they're surveying us on a complaint and an infection control survey again. So Kathy was there today and she'll come back tomorrow. On Friday, we tested 120 employees. We had 1 positive, and then 1 of our employees was positive by their physician, and we had 2 positive residents. That leaves 5 residents in our COVID unit. That 1 is recovered, but will stay in the unit until negative testing because of just personal medical situation. And then we have 4 other residents in isolation level 2 for being in contact with positive residents, i.e. their roommates. We continue to test twice weekly. So tomorrow will be testing day. Both residents and staff are continuing to be tested twice weekly, Tuesday, Wednesday, Friday, Saturday. That's our song for right now. Never did we imagine that and all other duties assigned would mean that the social worker, the Sunrise QIDPs, the activities director would be being pulled to be basic care aides and or those previously mentioned, and the finance director and environmental services director being trained to perform COVID testing. So we are discussing, and the directors of nursing and the nurse manager have been working 12-hour days straight since 9/4. That's 24 days. So we need to get back to having our managers manage. So we're going to be in communication with staffing agencies to try to alleviate some of the staffing crunches. It is part of our pandemic plan. It's not a place where we wanted to go, but when you take out 6 to 8 people out of your staff, that's a huge chunk out of your schedule. So that is our next project for tomorrow, is to review some of these staffing agencies and see what they can offer us to help us out, just to get us through this, as this outbreak has continued beyond what we all expected. Yeah, that's what I say too.
Yeah.
But I mean, we do have to, you know, when you have your social worker, your QIDPs, your activities director, your finance director, your environmental services director, I mean, they're not doing their work. They're working as basic care aides, they're doing testing, and it's, you know, for a short period of time, that's okay, but now that this is continuing, we have to move on and go to our next phase.
Chris and McDonough, is it possible to hire VNA staff to help with the testing? Can we outsource the testing part of it? Have somebody come in and do testing at the facility, like the VNA?
I don't believe they have the capacity to. I mean, we do, per week, we do 520 tests per week, Ann. I don't believe they have the capacity to do that.
How many times have we reported to the state of Iowa the antigen testing?
I report within 24 hours.
So how many times have you reported to the state of Iowa, do you think?
Oh, 6, 7. We do all antigen tests now, so we don't rely on the PCRs because it's just taking too long.
The state says from Dubuque County, they've gotten 350 antigen test results total. Does that make sense to you?
I report 520 a week. I saw that presentation and I'm thinking maybe those are just new tests, new people tested.
As compared to people who have been tested again and again and again?
Correct. That's my only logical analysis of that number, because Sunnycrest alone is doing 520. Plus any positives we get on the antigen machine, we're doing a PCR on those people. I mean, it's few, very few. We're doing PCRs on those. But you know, when I say the social worker, the QIDPs, and the activity directors are working shifts, I'm working on the floor as basic care aides. I'm talking 4 to 8 to 12-hour shifts. So because we pluck out 6 to 8 staff members off the schedule, I mean, the holes have to be filled. And that was part of our pandemic plan on how to fill our schedule. And I shared that with the Board of Supervisors, but we didn't believe that it would go on this long.
Is this reimbursed by FEMA?
Yes. Well, it has already been. We will use our coronavirus money.
Right. Well, I'm pleased that you're going to the staffing agencies we know those numbers will be sticker shock.
Yes.
But we are at a point where we're not going to have options if we don't think that, and I think Stacy Killian's probably still here. If she feels she has capacity, I would ask that she contact you in the morning to see if there's some way they can be helpful. You know, you're our much loved nursing home and long-term care center. So nice to give extra attention if we can.
Yes, and
this is Stacy, and I am still here. And Chris, I will reach out to you in the morning, and we can talk and see if we can find a way to help you out.
Thank you, Stacy.
thank you, Stacy. And I just don't want to burn out the people that are still there. You know,
Absolutely.
I want them to stay and to continue to love their job.
When is your final date?
Friday.
Wish you the very, very best, Miss.
Thank you. Thank you. It's bittersweet. You're muted, Dave.
Well, now I'm just going to say the nice things.
I was going to say that.
All right.
Nice things.
Yeah. Chris, I think under your leadership, our Sunnycrest Manor has excelled, and this has been, you know, the pandemic. We needed your leadership during this. I hope and pray that your footprint will continue. Your leadership will still be there for the folks that worked under you, and I know how much you cared about the residents at Sunnycrest Manor, and we wish you well in your next endeavor. And you'll be very difficult to replace, so it is truly bittersweet.
Thank you. And it's been a pleasure, and believe me, it's been worked with. I worked with everybody. It's been a great team. Everybody at Sunnycrest truly loves those residents and cares about them. And this has just been very difficult to struggle with for everybody. But we've done it, and now we just have to move on to the next phase so we can keep them all.
Yep. Well, thank you. Thank you for your service to the citizens of Dubuque County.
And thank you all for your support.
Hey, Chris, it's Nathan Gilmore. It has been a professional privilege to work and learn with you these past few years. Bittersweet is the right word.
Thank you. And I need your help tomorrow too.
You got it.
All right. Thank you, Chris.
Thank you. Any questions?
Any other questions for Chris Kirsch? Okay, thank you, Chris.
Thanks.
I'm trying.
Okay, next up is our emergency management team update with Tom Berger, our manager of our emergency management services.
I got my bed. I don't know why.
Anybody know if Tom is on the meeting?
Tom is not on. I don't know if Patrice has one, if she's part of that team, or if that was part of her earlier presentation, but Tom Berger is not on this evening.
Yeah, to my knowledge, Tom did not have a report for tonight.
Okay.
Not that he had shared. I don't believe that he does from the Emergency Management Center.
Okay, let's go to Ed Raber for testing update.
Chair Baker, this is Ed Raber, and there's been a lot of talking about testing, and I don't have too much else to add. Patrice Lambert had noted that Grand River Medical Center has, today was their first day as a Test Iowa clinic, and so I have not been able to be in contact with them today, but I hope to the next day or by Wednesday have some contact with them to find out how it's going, any sort of hurdles that they've run across. They had been considering this for about 2 months and have had some communication with the state. So I'm actually unaware if in the meantime, if they were having some issues working out some details that I was aware of, or if the state was just hit a pause for a little while and then green lighted that as a project with some increasing positive tests. I think from the standpoint of the particular location, the Grand River Center would be doing that work out of their respiratory clinic at near Grandview and Delhi. I think that has a lot of accessibility for that central part of the community of Dubuque, close to the higher education centers. So I think that's probably a positive option for a lot of folks. And I hope that shows that there's even more testing. I'd like to, over the weekend, I ran some numbers looking just at the daily totals and the total positives by day. The state does change those a little bit, it would appear, as they kind of filter out some of this, they get more data and stuff, some of those numbers shift around. So just because somebody listed what the COVID positive number in Dubuque County was back in July one day, it may have changed. So the trend of where those are going has remained the same, just some nuances there. But I'd like to say that testing in Dubuque County the last 2 full weeks have been over 2,500 new individuals tested, or at least people that had, if they'd been tested before, they tested positive in the last 2 weeks. So very heavy testing going on, and that probably is not going to abate in the next week or so as they bring this new testing option on with Grand River Medical Center. There's also some other plans being worked on in the background by one of the other free providers to do a testing day in a rural part of the county. And so those plans are evolving. We'll be able to bring back more definitive stuff in a public setting as soon as those kind of get ironed out. But I know there was, during your meeting today, there was another meeting of some of the partners in that. And I think Dubuque County is merely acting as a facilitator or a collaborator with that community and some other entities on that. So it's always great to be able to be enabling sort of those things to happen. So hats off to some of my colleagues and other people for helping to move that along. So we'll have more information about that coming up soon. And as Chris Kirsch provided an answer to Supervisor McDonough about why such low antigen new testing numbers, I believe I concur with Chris Kirsch that it's probably due to the fact that a lot of those individuals have already been tested and continue to test negative. So it's great that that's on the dashboard, but we're not going to see just lots more test results come through on the dashboard simply because most of the people that are being tested at all the long-term care facilities around Dubuque County, they've already been tested generally. There are, as you occasionally approve, new staff members that are hired there. So sometimes those individuals may not have been tested in the past, and they would be added to the database then, and you might see them on the dashboard. Did you have any specific questions beyond that? I'm hoping that we'll continue to see an uptick of testing, maintaining where we are or increasing in the next week or two. in response to that public demand and that spike in testing. So.
Ed, I had a question with the addition of the Grand River Medical. So I have kind of a two-parter. Are they on the same basis? Maybe that's not the right term, but as far as the state is concerned, as a clinic, or are they an actual Test Iowa site?
No, there is no Test Iowa site in Dubuque County. Test Iowa sites are staffed by the state. So earlier, as Patrice walked us through that dashboard, those sites that are listed there, and there's quite a few in a number of mostly metro counties, those are all staffed by the state. They take care of that. The Test Iowa clinics are all some sort of collaboration partnership with the state of Iowa and that clinic. So in Dubuque County, there are 2 Test Iowa clinics that are open to the public, and individuals can decide which is most convenient for them to go to. They both require making an appointment. Epic has been using an online scheduling system, and that I believe is also what Grand River Medical is planning on using. And once someone takes the testiowa.com assessment, at the end of that, it will tell you that you're good to go with getting a test. It will allow you to schedule yourself into one of those places, and I think that there should be a portal that individuals can click on to self-schedule themselves into one of the available time slots that those 2 Test Iowa clinics have. So you can take your pick.
Thank you. All right. Any other questions for Ed Raber regarding testing? Okay. Thank you, Ed. Next, we will go to our Board of Health update. So we'll go to our Chair of the Dubuque County Board of Health, Tom Beschen. So Tom Beschen, I'll turn it over to you at this point.
Thank you, Chair Baker. I'll be brief because much of what we discussed last Wednesday has already been discussed tonight. For example, the University of Dubuque issue, as well as the zip code data. Those have both been acted on tonight, and in the case of the zip code, you've had a presentation. I will hit on some of the other highlights. We did discuss our Mask of Wellness advertising campaign, as many of the billboards were, the contract on the billboards was running out. We sought some opinions from the county mayors and had some mixed reaction to continuing with the billboards. It was the decision of the Board of Health on last Wednesday that we would not pursue the issue of billboards any farther. We would look to, first of all, make sure we had mask information available in the languages that are spoken within the county, and that we would look at making those available to the individuals that are hosting events. They would be available through Sam at our Board of Health or at our Health Department office. We did have responses from 3 mayors, so that was a good response, and I thank the mayors for their participation. We also discussed the Community Health Needs Assessment and Health Improvement Plan. That is a project that gets redone on a 3-year cycle. Because of everything that's going on at this point with COVID-19, the Iowa Department of Public Health has suggested that it might be appropriate to add an additional year to that schedule. The Board of Health supported that, and we will be working on updating our community health needs assessment and health improvement plan, more commonly known as the China HIP, by June of 2022. With everything else going on right now, it was felt that might not get all the attention it needed. Okay, Susie Stroud indicated that Crescent Health is helping to prepare a flu vaccine clinic. Hopefully it will be held on the 17th of October, and that with everything else going on this year, it's important that people who are able to get out and get their flu shot or flu immunization. So that was good news that that's going to happen. And our next meeting of the Board of Health will be on the 7th of October. That normally would have been our regularly scheduled meeting, which based on our every other month schedule would happen on the 14th of October. We moved that forward to a week from this Wednesday, giving all of our agencies and committees time to publish their reports in time for publication at the end of this week. So that's really all I had. Are there any questions? Okay, well, thank you.
Thank you, Tom. Okay. At this point, we would go to the last item on the agenda is updates from Dubuque County municipalities. My understanding, unless we have someone on from by phone, that we don't have any of our mayors on, but I was pleased. I had sent out the resolution. I asked, actually, let me correct that. I asked Ed Raber to send it out to all the mayors and city clerks, and some of the towns actually have passed the resolution for the strong recommendation for the mask, and others gave it consideration or are discussing it. But I believe it has been approved by Asbury and Epworth, and so that's good to hear. And I don't know if Supervisor Wickham or McDonough have anything they want to report under the municipalities.
Nothing to report, but just an idea, a thought. So the numbers that we have by zip code now, and so if the health department, Patrice, along with maybe Ed Raber, if he can add assistance, or others can get that information directly to the city clerks and the city mayors, just proactively, I think that would be a good move that you gathered and presented to us today.
And I just sent it, Supervisor Wickham. So,
Patricia,
you're like radar.
To who did you send it? Who did you send it to?
Oh, I sent it to the clerks, all of the city clerks, and then in red, I put, please share with the mayors.
Right.
I do not have the mayor's email addresses, which Samantha and I talked about that. We will try and secure those as well. But I do have all of the clerks.
Yeah, Ed can help you with that.
Ed? Okay, yeah. Thank you. Okay, thanks, Ed.
I sent it to Jim Merton, and he has several questions. It would be helpful if public nurse focus could be on outreach and education. I mean, they understand the 4 things they're supposed to do: wash your hands, wear a mask, social distance, stay home if you're sick, but they don't have this concept of community spread and what's the target number for positivity rate. And now that they have this in their zip code, you know, it would be a time to do education more than just make things available online. I don't know who's got time to spare to do that. The Board of Health has decided not to pursue that, I think. Do we have any ideas who might be able to help do?
Well, I'd like to hear that request from the local governments. So, I mean, we have this on the agenda, and I don't know if we have any representatives from the Dubuque County municipalities at this meeting. So I'm interested in working with the local governments, but I want to know what their needs are. I don't want to just make up things. I just want to, you know, necessarily go out there and assume they need education. What are their requests? Bring them to us.
Well, there's two ways.
I want to hear them. I want to hear their voices.
I understand you do, but there's something called outreach, which is where you go ask them and you go meet them. And that's, in a pandemic, I would think that's what public health would want to do. We can continue to do nothing and wait for them to.
Well, the Board of Health did more than nothing. Board of Health passed a resolution to do a mask mandate, and we turned it down. So your characterization of doing nothing, I think, is way off.
So it's either a mandate or they're on their own. Is that what you feel?
No, I'm just merely saying it's hard to hit a moving target. And so if I understand what the needs and requirements are, then I think we can hit the target. And today our Board of Health and or Health Department is they've been at this for 6 months, and you know, they don't probably have the time or resources to go to all 20 different small municipalities. That's just probably the reality. Similar to what Sheriff Kennedy mentioned today about enforcement. And so what would make it more streamlined is if we knew what those requests are. They're very smart people. They're very bold. They're very strong leaders. And they have really good, smart people in their community. And I would like to know what their help they need. I would like to know what their ideas are versus just running out to them trying to solve issues that may not be present.
Okay, good discussion. And I think the hearing, one thing I agree with is that our Board of Health has certainly been proactive during this pandemic, and we can't say enough about the work that they've done, and I think they plan on continuing that. So I think if municipalities would like additional help, they should reach out. And again, the strong recommendation that I asked Ed Raber to send out was based on my discussions with many of the mayors prior to the vote on the mask mandate. And I believe that they, for the most part, have taken that seriously. So, all right, anything else? Not, I'd entertain a motion to recess.
When do we meet next?
I believe next Monday.
Motion to recess until we meet next Monday.
Okay.
I will second that.
All right, motion made and seconded to recess. All in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Okay, thank you all.